time. So that's a real important aspect about what I teach, because we are spiritual beings. We're not just these bodies running around. We are spirits that are inside of bodies, and we need to understand what they're trying to say. And a lot of times what happens for people is they discover that their spirit has been trying to tell them something their entire life and they've been ignoring it. So yeah, it's definitely spiritually based and spiritually motivated. And a lot of times people end up kind of tuning into a really deep aspect of their intuition or their knowingness, is what I like to call it. And they're able to be in communication with that part of themselves all the time. So it's really exciting because that part, we're kind of trained from day one to ignore it. We're just supposed to listen to, just try to be good and try to behave and push everything down and don't feel and don't listen to your intuition. I think that's really kind of what's creating the world as we know it right now, because we've lost touch with that empowered sense of being who we really are and the fact that we are a spiritual being. So it's just so important to be in touch with that part.
How long does it take?
Oh, that's a good question. It takes as long as it takes. Like I was saying before, some people, have come to one series of my classes and they're like, okay, great, got it, thank you, bye. And other people, I've been teaching them for years. It really depends on how deep people want to go and how much stuff they have to look at and how committed they are. Some people get kind of freaked out a little bit because it's like, wow, you guys are really going deep here. I've had students really kind of resist what I'm saying because it is so deep. And other people embrace it and, are able to live it and continue to do the work and do it as long as it takes. So I don't like to put a specific end goal on this because, like I said, we've got a lot of aspects going on, a lot of different levels and a different experience that we all have.
Intriguing. Like I've read about you and such, and it is intriguing to me because I didn't write down any questions for you. There's just things that are popping into my head, like, wait, how long does it take? What is the process and such? Because not in a sense of spiritual, you think I'm going to go to church, there's the saints and that whole aspect rather than self. Right. So that's the intriguing part where, of course, I've heard we are spiritual beings. A lot of people have different incidents that have happened and they share it with the world, but your method is quite different than what I've heard.
It definitely is. Yeah. And I think the difference is spirituality versus religion. Religion is kind of, this is the tenets, is it tenets or tenets? Oh yeah, sure. TENETS, the spirituality, and you need to follow this and you need to believe this. But the work that I do is more about personal experience. So, it's one thing to read that you're a spiritual being. It's another thing to experience it and live it and have that awareness all the time that is basically in charge of your life, to feel that connection that we're all spiritual beings and to not just know that intellectually, but to really feel it and live it. That's the difference. It's very experiential.
Ah, I see. And does this come with any visuals? Like, are people coming back to you and being like, oh, I had an outer body experience, or I saw something, or anything like that?
All the time. Yes. Yeah. One of the ways that I work with people is in a meditative state, and which allows people to really get in touch with their higher consciousness or their spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I would say almost invariably, people start having all kinds of really interesting experiences during that particular level of consciousness that gets opened up. Sometimes they see visions, sometimes they have out-of-body experiences. Sometimes they have prophetic experiences. Sometimes they just have a sense of knowing what they're supposed to do or what they're supposed to say. And it's really, I don't like to separate it out from, just being an ordinary person, because, that sounds like, oh, wow, you're a saint and you should be walking on water. But it's not like that. It's just kind of an everyday walking through life. Oh, I know I need to turn left here and I don't know why. And then I discover why. So it's just kind of allowing your spirit to pull you in certain situations that maybe in the past you would have resisted and said, no, I shouldn't do that. That doesn't make sense. So it's that kind of thing.
What would you say to someone who, after hearing about you, was like, oh, so you're basically like a therapist?
I'm not a therapist. Definitely not a therapist. One of my goals is for people to become their own teacher, their own guide. If you want to call it a therapist, that's fine. But I try to empower people, not by telling them what to do or by instructing them that you should, leave that guy or go that direction or whatever it is. I assist people in discovering their own answers, their own truths. I've had a lot of people that are really skeptical, you know, or the other part of that is they try to get me to tell them what to do. Oh, you're so wise, Royce. Please tell me, should I do this? And I just won't do it because that really disempowers people. I think that's much more important for people to learn to trust themselves. Um, you know, and it's very, very empowering to trust yourself. It really is.
It's a different empowerment method. However, I would say it's a good empowerment, I guess, resolution, for lack of a better word, to get people to trust themselves and basically listen to what you really want to do and what your
Yeah.
body's is telling you.
Yeah, definitely. What your soul is telling you. Yes.
Okay, okay. Now, what's this past life and present life thing? How does that incorporate to it?
Um, a lot of times people get in touch with things that they've brought with them from past lives. It's not our first existence here, needless to say. And I don't push that on anybody because some people have a hard time with that. In Western society, we're not really taught that that's, something that we should be concerned about, that most of the rest of the world believes in reincarnation. But I find that we've been here many times and there's a lot of stuff that we've carried with us, whether it be negative programming or things that we've done that we haven't forgiven ourselves for, things that we were supposed to learn in past lives that we didn't learn, that we bring with us here to learn. Um, my own situation, I was mentioning before that when that person came up to me and said, oh, you seem to know a lot of stuff. Can you teach me? I really didn't think I had anything to teach. And when I started delving into some past lives after I had been teaching for a number of years, I was still having a hard time trusting it and believing that I had anything to give anybody. So I was doing some past life work with myself, and I discovered many lifetimes where I was supposed to be teaching and I didn't. I chose to, ignore what my purpose was here on this earth. And because of that, I literally had it shoved in my face with these people arriving in my living room saying, teach us. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't run from it. So just knowing that allowed me to say, okay, well, maybe I do have something important to do here. And maybe I am here to kind of finally do it once and for all and clean up all those past lives that I ran from it. So there's a lot of stuff that people, really need to get in touch with that makes sense when you see it in a bigger picture and when you see it as, oh yeah, there we go. That's why this is happening in this life. I get it now, and it's not somebody giving you a past life reading and telling you all this. You're experiencing it, you're remembering it. It's like remembering what you had for dinner last night. It's that vivid. So yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. And
Yeah.
how were you able to do that for yourself?
The same thing that I do for other people. It's a meditative process. It's an inner journey process that I do where you just ask questions. You ask yourself some questions and you trust the answers. Sometimes you get visions of past life experiences, and sometimes you just get a kind of a knowingness of certain things. in my own situation, it was definitely a visual thing where I remembered, seeing very specific incidents in past lives. They all came back to me. And I watched it kind of like watching a movie and going, oh, okay. So, and again, it just kind of all brought things back and made sense of everything that I was going through in this life. But yeah, it's basically the same process, the same inner journey work.
That's cool. Have you
Yeah.
encountered anyone who like wanted to know of their past lives and to really reach that element, not be able to?
Yes. I've had a lot of people that, say, gosh, I really want to see a past life. And I think there's a couple of reasons why they're not able to. The first one is that there's some unresolved fear about doing that. And the other reason is that their higher consciousness or their spirit says, you're not ready. If you saw this right now, it's just not the right time. I always talk about the perfection of the timing of certain things that happen. Even though it may not make sense at the moment, it's kind of like when you look back, you realize, gosh, if I had known that, everything in my life would have been different and it wasn't the right time. So yeah. So I don't usually, if people just can't get there, it's okay. I trust that when their higher consciousness says that it's the right time, then stuff will start to unfold for them.
Are these positive people that come to you, or do you have people that are like clinically depressed or facing hard times that want a different style of an answer?
Oh yeah. I have people come from all different places. Some people are spiritual seekers. Some people are, desperate to have their life change. I've had a lot of people arrive that were going through crisis. I've taught a lot of groups where, interestingly enough, they discovered that they all have the same issue. I had one group several years ago that slowly everybody started to discuss the fact that one or both of their parents were alcoholics. And, I've reached the point where I just trust that whatever group gets thrown together, there's a reason that this group is together. So, we were talking about, okay, well, what happens as a child of an alcoholic parent? And, there was that similar bond that started to happen and similar issues that started to unfold. So yeah, that happens a lot, especially, with stuff going on now. There's a lot of people in crisis and they need to know, what's going on a spiritual level. Why is this happening? What do I need to do? You know, so it's, yes, a lot of different walks of life. In fact, I've taught a lot of psychotherapists. A lot of psychotherapists use my methods, or at least use the understanding of life with their clients. Parents use it, teachers use it. I have a lot of teachers that apply some of the stuff that I teach with their kids, and it's pretty amazing.
Wow. That's amazing. That's pretty cool. It's a different, you have mediums, past or present life readers and such. And I feel like you're the in between of all that.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't read people's past lives. I really don't believe in doing that. That is one of the trainings that I was given. Like I said, that was kind of, where I started. But I think that it's much more important for people to get in touch with their own past lives, because otherwise it's just a story. It's like hearing, that a person uh, did this thing, and it's like, okay, well, that's nice to know, but I need to remember that and experience that and get in touch with that and feel that for me to understand it and to resolve it. So yeah, a lot of what I do is about resolving stuff that we're stuck in, or stuff that keeps repeating, patterns that keep happening. We keep attracting the same boss or the same boyfriend or same situations. And why is that? And it's
Hmm.
one thing to have somebody say, oh, it's because you were, a a witch in a past life, that kind of thing, versus remembering that that's where it was set up and that's where you started that whole situation. I talk a lot about how everything on some level, usually subconscious, is a choice. We've chosen this life to clean things up, or we've chosen this person to go through this experience with so that we could learn something about ourselves. So yeah, I talk a lot about that, and that's really hard for people to get to that point until they start seeing and remembering. that, oh yeah, I